Okay. So, once upon a time, this is a Nigerian story. So, once upon a time, there was a Nigerian chief, and he had a very beautiful daughter called Erma. And as she grew up, there were lots, since she was beautiful, she was the chief, Nigerian chief's daughter, a very powerful chief. So, there were lots of proposals coming in for her. And they kept coming and she kept saying no. And like for like nearly 2, 3 years, his father had a tough time just going through these biodatas and then showing it to the daughter, and the daughter would say, huh. And then the father would again have to, okay, he's a chief, but whatever. All that process, administrative work had to get done. So ultimately, he got very tired. He said, look, daughter Erma, please choose somebody. I'm really getting tired of seeing all these people and then having to say no to them. I've had enough. But the daughter kept saying no. Now what had actually happened was she was in love with her childhood friend called Ibekbu, who was now as a small time organic farmer. And she knew that her father was never going to say yes to this. So that was the whole thing. That's why she was saying no to everybody. She couldn't tell him this, but she kept saying no to everybody. Anyway, the father didn't know all this. He was very tired. At last he thought, oh, why didn't I get this idea? He had a little hut called the wisdom hut. So he said, why don't I go to my wisdom hut and put my question, I'll get my answer. He went to his wisdom hut, he wore his wisdom pagri, he sat down. Before he could ask the question, the answer was there. So he came running out very excited. He said, Erma, 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 where are you? I've got the answer. It's so simple, why didn't I see it? She said, what answer? He said, look, we are all fond of stories. You are fond of stories, I am fond of stories. So it's very simple. We'll have a, what is it called, a competition. And whoever can tell a story for 7 days and 7 nights, that is the guy you get married to. Anyway, she didn't think there would be anyone like that. So a proclamation was sent out, and people, on that day, there were people far from far and wide. Some were suitors and some were just observers, and they wanted to hear stories, so they came. And at first came the wrestlers. They came with the stories of great grappling power and this throw and that lock, and how they had won and how strong they were and how wimpy the other fellows were. But they stories, okay, 2 hours. Nobody could go beyond 2 hours. Then came the traders. They also had lots of stories because they had gone far and wide with their spices, with their silks, and they got back a lot of stories. Very interesting. But half a day, max, each one. So then came the princes. They came with their stories of luxurious palace life, very boring. But they could continue for an hour, I mean for a day. Then they were also out. Ultimately, it seemed like there was no one left. People came, but there was no one who could go on for more than a day. And then this chief was kind of about to announce the close of this competition because there was nobody, it seemed to be nobody else. Then there was a voice from the crowd which said, I can tell you a story, sir, and I will tell you a story. And when people saw who it was, they started laughing because it was this thin young fellow who was an organic farmer somewhere with a small little farm. So they all laughed at him and said, Arey, itne bade bade aage. They couldn't do anything. What is this fellow going to do? Then he came for, but the chief was a little desperate by now, so he said, hey, let him try. So this fellow came forward, he moved and he said, sir, once upon a time there were farmers. And he was a farmer, so he was a story farmer. And they sowed crops, seeds, and the crops grew very well. And when it was time for harvesting, they took a day and they danced and they made merry. And when they started harvesting, in the distance, they saw locusts coming. And they tried very hard to put their thing together and put it into, store it well. But before they could, the locusts came and they finished everything. So next year, they were farmers, they had to sow again, but they got smart. They made a huge granary alongside, and as soon as the thing ripened, they said, no waiting, no nothing. Quickly they put it in, and they closed the granary. By the time the locusts came, they couldn't get to the seeds to the crops anymore. So they could smell it, and they were hungry. So they kept buzzing around the granary, very angry and very hungry, till one little fellow found a little hole. So the little locust went into the granary, picked up a grain, and flew out. Then seeing him, another fellow went in, picked up a grain, and flew out. And the next one came, picked up a grain, flew out. And the next one came, went in, picked up a grain. Picked up a grain. Flew off. And the king said, enough. What happens next? He said, telling you exactly, sir, there's another one coming. Picked up a grain. Flew out. Another one's coming. Now they're coming fast. Now they're coming in hordes. They know, but they have to wait over there. Coming. Went in. Flew out. Locust coming in. Going in. Flowing out. Coming in. Going in. Taking a grain, flying out. And so the guys after some time were dozing because locusts were coming, locusts were entering, locusts were taking, locusts were flying, coming, entering, taking, flying, coming. Fellows were dozing. Suddenly the chieftain got up and said, enough, now you go home. We'll come tomorrow, we're very tired today. Next day he comes early morning, goes low, and he says, Your Majesty, a very tiny locust come, wings hardly out. And is going in, struggling very hard to pick up the grain. It's flown, sir, it's flown. Next one has come. It's going in, picking up a grain, and it's flying out. The next one has come, it's going in, and it's flying out. Next one has come, it's going in, and it's flying out, sir. Next one has come already. There's quite a number. There's coming, going in, and flying out. Going, said, tell me what happens next. He said, do you know what happens next? I said, sir, all I know is that there are millions of locusts in the air and millions of grains in the granary, and there is one hole, and they're all waiting to go in one by one. That is all I can tell you. And then he says, and then there's the next one coming. He's going in and he's coming out. And the next one is coming, going in, coming out. And the next one has come, it's going in, it's coming out. The next one has come, it's going in, it's coming out. The next one has gone, taken a grain, coming out. The next one has come, and the king says, enough, we are really tired. Please come back tomorrow. Third day he comes. Again he goes low. And he starts his story. He says, sir, a locust has come. It is going in. It has picked up a grain and is going out. Another one has come. It's picked up a grain and is going out. Another one. He said, now time to use some author. He said, tell me just now, what happens next? He said, sir, to tell you the end of the story at the very beginning would kill the story. And when he said that, everybody clapped, because by now he had become quite a hero. So then the king thought, now abhi to problem hai, I cannot bulldoze this fellow in public. So he said very gently, he said, tell me, young man, at the end of 7 days and 7 nights, will all the locusts get all the grain and will the granary be empty or not? So he said, so I wish I could tell you, but all I know is that there are millions here and millions there, and there is one hole. And there goes another one. He's really fat. He is struggling to go into the hole. He's picked up a grain and he is flying out. He really should lose some weight. And here is the next one who's coming in and he's going to pick up a grain and he's out. And the next one has come. He's picking up a grain. And the king said, enough. I give up. You are the wisest man and the cleverest fellow in my kingdom. I give you my daughter. And Erma was very happy to run to her bedroom and hug him, and they had a very